here with yet another insightful discussion on single parenting. I would like to take the opportunity to introduce the two people we have here in conversation. First and foremost, I would like to welcome, and it's an honor to introduce Lalita Iyer. She's a journalist, author based in Kodaikanal. She has written several books for children and for grown-ups as well. She's also been a parenting columnist and a single parent for the past 12 years. And in conversation, we have our very own Gitanjali Namudri. She's a parent coach and she's a seasoned HR expert. So, without further ado, I would hand it over to Gitanjali to take this forward.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya, and thank you, Parents Ki Paathshala, for this wonderful initiative for all the parents. That's been happening for a very long time. So, kudos to Aishwarya, to you and everybody. And Lalita ji, it's been a complete honor and pleasure to be there on the other side of the screen and asking questions from you. I'm sure the parents who are logged in, a lot of people over here want to hear more from you. So straight away, I would, move on to the first question that we have. So Lalita ji, when we talk about single parenting, often single parenting is associated with, single mothers, but we do have single fathers also. So why don't you, tell us that what are the unique realities and emotional journeys of mothers as a single parent and fathers as a single parent?
Hi to everyone here. I'm happy to be here, and this is a topic that's really close to my heart because it's been something that I've been navigating for a while, and every day you learn something. And I don't think I still have all the answers, but I'm figuring it out as I go along. So, in this whole realm of single parenting, um, unfortunately, there are more single mothers than there are single fathers. Um, Although I've met a few of them as well, uh, but somehow the baggage and the gravity of the whole single parenting thing falls on on the mother, and also there is more expected from her. I mean, she's supposed to um, hold it all together, be the anchor, be the emotional support for the child or children, um, manage the logistics, manage finances, and manage almost every practical situation on a day to day basis, every possible challenge that comes. And she's also somehow supposed to be calm through everything, never complain, never lose it. So there is this whole expectation of A being invisibly efficient and very consistently so. Like she can't have a bad day or she can't not have answers. Whereas with single fathers, I feel, I mean, I'm not generalizing here, but I feel they get brownie points for just making a nice omelette or dropping the kid to school or attending a PTA meeting or being in a WhatsApp group, being the only dad in a WhatsApp group which has mostly moms. And these are not necessarily single moms, but these are just moms who are part of various school groups and stuff like that. So I feel that it's a little skewed um, in favor of the single father. But that's not to say that it's easier or anything. Um, but the single mother somehow bears the brunt of much more. And it's the challenges don't sort of it's like they say when the child is small, they say, oh, when he starts walking it'll be easy, or when he starts going to school it'll be easy, or when he starts making his own friends it'll be easy. And the bar keeps shifting, and the challenges keep growing. And for a single mother, they just keep growing and multiplying, and your resources don't grow in the same way. So, yeah, it's a lot. But then there's also other things. I mean, I just feel that, we should stop looking at single parenting as like, I have diabetes or mujhe blood pressure hai or something like that, like a condition, right? It's a, it's just another family structure. It's a different family structure. It is not a family structure that you see around you all the time. But it is not to say that it is an abnormal family structure. I mean, uh, there is, I mean, I find that there is a lot of clarity that also comes with not having mixed messages all the time, not having to pretend collaborate all the time, with not having to, um, you know, constantly have this good cop, bad cop struggle. So I feel like we should look at it for what it is and, sort of navigate it uh, in the healthiest way possible. It's a situation, it's a structure. And, in the olden times, people lived in joint families and they thought it was normal. Like no one had an escape from that, right? And then slowly, things became nuclear. People started moving out and have their own homes and stuff like that. So it's not to say that one was better than the other, but that was a structure. This is another structure. So similarly, a single parenting household is a family structure, and you try to find ways to best manage that dynamic within that structure. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I think that's very uh, something to reflect on, that it is not something like a status that we have to go through. It's more about a structure, and it is absolutely normal to have that situation, right? And but talking about, like you said, for a mother, she has to be on her best each and every day, and she has to go through everything, right? So if I talk about one of the things that comes up, in a journey, not only at the beginning, but probably through many years, many decades, is communicating with the child, right? And so communication really becomes very, very critical, not only for the parent who's taking care of the child, also the parent with whom the child is not, spending much of the time. So, can you guide single parents, how should they navigate the conversation, starting with their decision, talking about certain, difficult situation that may arise? How about communicating this structure that we will, start having from now? If you could just guide us on that.
Sure. See, I feel that uh, there is too much being made of this, how to tell your child and how to communicate with your child when you are in a single parent situation, right? Uh, I feel communication is important in any parenting journey, whether it's single, double, whatever it is, right? Um, and it's something that is ongoing and that should never ideally stop. Um, as far as the situation of a single parent household arises, so usually what happens is it's not like it happens overnight. It's not like, oh, you know what, today we are a perfect family and tomorrow we are a single parent family, and hello, we have to send this memo out that this change is happening. It's not like, new CEO has taken over a company and everybody gets a memo. It doesn't work like that. Usually these things are years in the making. uh, Adults have problems, and the problems and the cracks arise in a marriage very slowly, very insidiously. And often, when there are children involved, there is an attempt to camouflage, skirt around it, not talk about it. And a lot of things are brushed under the carpet for many years. And in fact, in some households, that situation remains like that forever. And that, I think, is the most dangerous situation, when these conflicts are never resolved and people just pretend to be this family, this unit forever. Some families, some women or some men decide that this is not a coherent situation. It is not. It's fractured enough to affect all parties emotionally, and in many other ways, and therefore it is sensible and practical to part ways and to figure out how to do this, to continue to do this, in the best way possible. Now, some couples have very coherent dialogue about this and discussions, but those are very rare, few and far between. Most of the times, it's one party slipping away and the other party left with making all the major decisions, which is also including how to tell the children, when to tell the children, what to tell the children, how to now navigate this new situation, keeping as many things constant as possible. Because the thing is, life goes on, right? Life doesn't pause. So, you, if you are in a work situation, your work goes on. If the child is in school, school goes on. The household runs as normal. The help comes. So basically, everything in the ecosystem of the child remains constant, but there is a change, that there is this one factor that is missing, and it is usually the father. Sometimes there are mothers also who, um, who leave, uh, and the fathers are left with the kids. But mostly it is the mother. Now the thing is, the focus we put on communication is, so it also depends on the age of the child, right? Sometimes these things happen very early in the child's life. I mean, the child is probably just a toddler or even an infant, when the fracture happens. Sometimes the child is a little older, but yet not completely mature to understand the adult relationship, or the fact that everything is not permanent. So, in situations where, say, for example, the father is a very active participant in the parenting, maybe he is, doing nap time, or, bath time, or dropping the kid to school, or picking the child up, or, being part of making the snack boxes, or, like very hands on sort of father, is more likely to be missed, is what we think, right? But it's amazing, and it's almost like, it feels almost unfair that even a father who does as little as he can uh, is also missed, because it's just a it's just a person. It's like having this body in the house, and having that person on loop. Like, you wake up, you see this person, maybe the person is still sleeping, maybe your school timing are not matching with the person's schedule. But even so, uh, children have a way of finding that something is amiss. Okay. um, so what we tell them, I believe, should strictly be on a need to know basis at every stage in that transition. Okay. Because at some point, that, okay, now this is petering off, and very soon this person will not be there. Uh, and maybe, you cannot even assure the child that you'll be able to meet this person every weekend, or do holidays with them or whatever, because you don't know. um, you don't know what to expect, you don't know what the commitment will be, you don't know how much is going to change in that person's life, that your child and this unit still remains a priority. All that is very nebulous and up in the air. So I feel in the beginning, maybe the communication just needs to be that, we are figuring things out, and, things may change, but you will still be loved. You will still get all the care and attention that you deserve. I think for a child, more than consistency, because I feel consistency is very overrated. Okay. It's like, expecting the same schedule to last um, forever and ever is not going to happen. So lots of things change. You may lose your job, you may have to move house, you may have to move to a different suburb. The child may not have any friends in the new suburb. Uh, Sometimes women have to move in with their parents because they cannot afford rent. So there are lots of things that can change. But I think what needs to remain always an assurance for the child is that the child will feel that, that this, no matter how much this will change, this will always be an emotionally safe space for you. That, the parameters, the actual physical um props around you will be different. Some children are used to a very drastic change in lifestyle as well. I mean, I have known women who have, who've had a car and now not had a car. Now they're taking autos. And for the child, even that feels like, oh my God, like what happened to my life? And children are asking questions like, oh, are we poor overnight? And, things like that. Um, Sometimes a child's school may change because now you can no longer afford that school that someone else was paying for. Um, and the legal process takes a lot of time. Yeah. And not everything is very amicable and, very straightforward. And so continuity is always a difficult thing to achieve. And I think we should not put that much pressure on it. We should not focus so much on, oh my God, because there are a lot of arguments about this, that, your lifestyle should not change and your child should have the same luxuries that they had before. Or I mean, these are things that are put on the table. But I think it's not really, in real life, it doesn't pan out in the same way. So I feel that as long as um, you are you are not hiding anything from the kid, you are telling the kid that, there is something changing, and things will be different, and we are work. And so, at every stage you give them a little more information, basically just as much as they need or as much as they can process. Because at the end of the day, you are still the parent and you are still going to be now in charge of this child's life. You are not their friend, you're not their therapist. Yeah. So don't put so much pressure on you on how will I communicate. And you know what? It's going to happen. Some days you may not have the answers. Some days your child may ask you, uh, my dad didn't see me last week, and when will I see him again? You can't give an answer because you may you may assure them, or you may just tell them that, oh, you know what, next weekend, but then it may not happen. And you don't want to be, constantly be told that, oh, but you said you promised, but now he didn't come. So now, you don't want your neck to be on the block all the time. So you say, if you know for sure, you say, but then you can also like keep it open ended, and you can sometimes it's very okay to say, I don't know. And I don't think we should put that much pressure on ourselves to have all the answers all the time. And this whole pressure of how to communicate this, it's fine. It's like on a need to know basis, you unravel a little at a time, and it should be fine. I mean, and children are very resilient, and we give them far less credit um, than we should actually.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that's really important that we should not a single parent should not be pressurized, what to communicate, how to communicate. But it's more important that you keep going gradually as and
I
when.
also feel, sorry to interrupt, I also feel, more than what you tell the child, it's very important what you tell yourself. I mean, I think the stories we tell ourselves are going to be, with us for a long time. So the more you tell yourself that, because there is a lot of shame and mm, guilt and anger and all sorts of emotions that you are dealing with on a daily basis. But at the same time, you have to be this complete human for this little human. Um, and Sometimes you berate yourself for not being able to be that person, for not being able to come across as whole, because you're not whole, you are broken, but you are dealing with another little person, and you have to factor in their emotions. So I think cut yourself some slack, and don't overburden yourself with, how am I going to communicate? It's okay, you will figure it out, and you will figure it out together.
Very true. Very true. So, Lalita ji, while it is important the story that a single parent shares with themselves, talk about it, and also with the children. Uh, I had a incident, one of the parents shared with me, and it's something that I'm sure somebody else would have happened. It's especially with little kids, when they go to school, they go out to play, and when their friends come to know that this is a child with a single parent, they may say something to the child, or certain actions or behavior which may disturb the child. Of course, when the child grows up, gradually they are able to understand and maturely handle. But for very young children, it is very difficult to see, because for them, their school, their park, their friends, everything is around them is their social life. And in case they see that there is some resistance from their social circle, they feel very, very disturbed. And of course, they come back and they tell the parents, why is that my father or my mother is not with me? And it's of course very emotionally stressful both for the child and for the single parent. Would you would you like to give some advice or suggestions on parents wherein they are, when the situation like this occurs, what can they do, what best they can do for the child and for themselves at that point of time?
Okay, there are two aspects to this. I mean, I'm unpacking two very different things here.
Sure.
The first is, I feel that when you are when you're conditioning yourself and your child that what we have is something less than something else, so that our family situation is not good enough, or our the way we live and we as a family unit are not complete, or I as a parent alone is not enough. um, the more you process this and the more you internalize it, the more your child is mirroring it, right? So if the child is growing up in a place of lack and always feeling like, oh, my dad is not around, ours is an abnormal family and whatever, the child is again attracting, um, is making this part of themselves very prone to attack or vulnerability or whatever. So the the thing is, kids around or the universe is always picking on these things. You are always attacked. I mean, and we all know that our weakest um, organs or our weakest so for example, if you have um, if you're prone to a throat infection or something, anytime you do anything, you eat something untoward or you go to a weird place, that'll be the first thing that'll be affected. Yeah, if you have a breathing issue, it's that. Or if you have, like, if you're prone to sprains and whatever, it is always that portion that is attacked or that is affected. So if there is a corner or a big corner in your child's heart that this is a situation that is amiss, or this is a situation that is less than, you will always be prone to any sort of, because that is something that you're already feeling within. So the world will catch on to that, right? um, the second thing is that um, we are not here to produce superhumans. Our children are human, and so are we. Okay, the world is always going to hurt you, and the world is always going to find ways and poke holes and whatever. If you are not a child of a single mother, the child somebody will make fun of, like, why is your father so fat, or why does your mother wear these funny clothes, or why why is your family so loud, or why. I mean, there is always going to be something. Yeah. And it is not our job to produce superhumans. It is our job to produce well adjusted humans. And well adjusted humans means that you are going to get all kinds of, um, mm, you're going to get all kinds of triggers thrown at you. And some are going to be good and some are going to be bad. And it's not like you are being teased just because you're a single parent's child. You are being teased because you're allowing yourself to be teased. I mean, when my son used to go out to play, and I don't think anybody ever asked him, like, where is your father, because he was so content in the fact that we were a two-person household. And then he would say, I have, who's in your house. And I remember there was this picture that he drew in some school thing where you have to draw your family, and that is something that also gets my goat. The things, the projects, the stereotypes, the cliches that are encouraged in schools when they have to draw family portraits. So what should the family portrait contain? Mother, father, brothers. I mean, like, hum do, hamare do. I mean, what a cliche is that? So my son went and drew my mother and my brother and sister. And who were his brother and sister? Are cats. So he said, we are a family of four, two humans and two cats. And I feel like, and this is the thing, if your conversations on a daily basis are wholesome, are about what you have rather than what you don't have, then I think your children are going to pick up that and they are going to spread that in the world. If you're always going to be this, oh my God, I am a single mom, and my poor child, he doesn't deserve this and he deserves that. No, I mean, let me go out. I mean, let me tell that kid who was asked that question to go out and ask that child back. Just because you have a mother and the father, at home, does that really mean that you are a complete family? And and I can bet you that most of these so-called complete families have their own issues and they have their own set of things swept under the carpet. Yeah. It's just that you have, I mean, people hate. I also think that the world hates your guts when you actually pick a side and say, hey, this is something I will not take. And I will raise my family this way, and I am enough. People don't like it when a woman feels enough. It's a challenge, it's a threat to most of humanity. So I feel if you are enough, your children will always be enough, and they will never, I mean, even if some kid is to pass a remark like that, it will just be water off a camel's back. It's not going to travel back home, and it's not going to be something that, I mean, these are things, I mean, I remember movies used to be like very cliched about this, but now even things are getting better. The treatment, the whole normalcy of these new family structures is becoming a thing, even in media, in cinema, in the world around you. So it's never, it's not that thing, that archaic thing, that, oh, where is your husband? I mean, there's always something, right? If it's a single woman who's not married in her 30s or 40s, there's always this thing, when are you going to get settled, and. So you can't keep everybody happy, but you can make sure that your family, your unit, your child is emotionally well adjusted and is always feels emotionally safe in your household, even though it has shrunk. It's totally okay.
Right, right. Very, very, very appropriately shared. And this reminds me, it's either a song or a saying. I think it's a song. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे लोग का काम है कहना. So whether single parent का option नहीं मिला, तो they will go ahead and say something on. You have
Always be something, trust me. I mean, a mean person will always find mean things to say. You
absolutely
can never insulate yourself from, I mean, sometimes you may just be this um, uh, perfect, so called in their eyes, right? And they'll still have something to say. They'll say, oh, but why do you always talk in English? Or why do you have an accent? Or why is your hair long? Why is there's always something. You can never please everybody. And I don't think we should raise our children to be people pleasers. We have enough of those in the world. We need them to be their own people.
very true. You know what they are, they need to stay to it, believe to it, right? They really don't have to please the world or anybody else externally. That's very, very important. Right. Moving on, Lalita ji. Uh, Single parents, of course, with a lot of responsibility, dual responsibility, that they may be double hatting on various tasks. So, do you think what kind of support systems they can avail, which are available, or they can ask for certain support that will enable them not only in terms of their parenting but their own life journey as such?
I mean, there is this cliche that, it takes a village, and find your village. Villages are not just lying around, waiting to be found. Uh, and I think that this whole lesson, or this whole, I would say, negotiation for help should start very early. And it's not just if you're a single parent, but yeah, if you're a single parent, you definitely need resources. um, because there are many times when you don't have like somebody to fall back on. Like, okay, you have a meeting, you're going to be late. If your husband can pick up the child, or make dinner, or put the child to bed, or whatever, then you have a backup. Okay, a single mother does not have a backup. So then what do you do? Like, I mean, it all depends on what resources can you sort of muster in terms of like a hired help, but not everyone can afford, hired help. But some can afford like a part-time help, coming for a few hours, or just picking up the child from school or whatever. Then there is your parents, then there is family. And I think that you should, I mean, it's like you will only get help when you ask for help. The world is not sitting around to help you, okay? Because like, uh, and not everyone has the memo that she needs help on a particular day. Sometimes it may not be a very finite thing, like like you having to travel out of town, or you having a long meeting or a workshop or something, and you're out for the whole day and you need someone to look after the child. Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just you needing a break, you needing a break from this constant churn that is single parenting. And you may just need like a, I have had so many situations where I've wanted to be alone in my own house. It's like a homecation, like people go for vacations and staycations. I sometimes just wanted to be in my home but alone, and someone else to just look after my child. But yes, I was fortunate that I had my mother in the same town, so I would, you know, be able to call upon her and, drop my kid to her house or whatever. But I think it's also about you availing of these things, resources, because if you keep moving homes, you may not have the same neighbor all the time, or your neighbor may not really understand kids, or you may not have that rapport. But there'll always be like a fellow mom, from the school who you became friends with and who you sort of, you vibe with or whatever. So there's enough and more opportunities out there to ask for help. But I think you just have to uh, do it and keep doing it, because you will need help in many new ways in as the child grows up. And asking for help should never be uh, like a close ended, it's like it should always be an open door. It should always be something um, that you can unhesitantly sort of ask for. And it's I mean, it can, and sometimes it's, I feel like people, for example, what I would, what I think a single mother really values is someone to say, and I have jumped at this, okay, when people have done, someone, if someone tells you, can I send you food? And I would say, yes, because it's like one meal, one set of decisions, one planning ordeal, you know, out of the window. So we don't even know what is the thing. Like sometimes some people are not great at you know saying that, oh, we'll watch the kid, or you can leave, like what they say, babysitting, which I think is a very corny word. But they may not be able to do that. But if someone can send food, yes, for me it's a big win. So don't hesitate to ask for anything, and ask. If you keep asking, you will receive in like abundance. But I think this whole thing of main kaise puchu, how will it look, and whatever, I think those women are just inviting their own doom. And I don't feel sorry for them, because you have to make the move, you have to ask for help.
Very true. I think it's a great conversation that we have been having. And there are going to be a lot of questions from audience for sure. But just before we open on to the audience question and answers, I would like to ask you if there is one message that you would like to share with all our single parents. What would that be?
I would say, put on your oxygen mask first. That is my only message. I think unless you are whole and grounded and looked after, you will not be able to do a great job with your kids. So always look after yourself first.
Powerful message. Very, very powerful. Great, great. So, I would now like to open, the session for question answers. You can either share your questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hands, and then when we share your name, you can unmute and share your questions. So please अपने question chat box पे लिख सकते हैं, or you can raise your hands. Okay, so there is a question from Deepa. She says, when you say self-care, what has worked best for you?
This is very, it's too broad because I think self-care just means that factor yourself in when you are, like sometimes in your enthusiasm, you may overcome it and you may feel like you are pulled in all directions and you may not be able to deliver. So be realistic about, the pressures, the expectations you have of yourself. And I mean, you know, I think self care is very often oversimplified and made to feel like, oh, go for a spa day or get a pedicure. No, it's not that. I think it's just being able to um, mm, you know appreciate the finiteness of uh, your abilities, your strength, your emotional, physical, mental strength, and be, and it's like you apportion yourself in a way that you are not depleted. That is self-care. So whether it is emotional depletion or physical or whatever, it's not as simple as that. And self-care is not like acha 10 minute ke liye meditation mein baith jao. I mean, I think all these things are like really very um, I mean, very cliched approaches to self care. I mean, ultimately, self care just means factor yourself in. Like, it's like debit and credit. Make sure that there is more credit in your account than, it's like you're not just debiting yourself endlessly and there's nothing left. So just make sure of that. So it can be in, I mean, there are multiple different ways to look at it.
Thank you for sharing this question. Okay, another question. Says sometimes single parents feel guilt that if their child doesn't grow up to be successful, they will be blamed single-handedly. How to navigate that?
Okay, here's the thing. Again, I feel this whole thing of success is very overrated. Like, how do you measure success? Like, is your child successful if he becomes a CEO of Google? What is like what are your expectations of success? And why is the pressure so much on? I mean, there is this much that you can do, and the rest of it is the child's journey, what they do with their own life. You are not responsible for the child's success. You are only responsible for raising a well rounded, well adjusted child that even if he or she doesn't succeed, can also take it in their stride. I think that is the child you're trying to raise. You're not, there is no recipe for success. And it's not like, if you're a two-parent household, you are guaranteed that your child will be successful. No, because success is it's like a moving reference point, right? It keeps changing. The bar keeps changing. And it's, uh, whose idea of success are you talking about? So I don't think single parents should feel guilty about anything. For the last of all, whether their child is successful or not, because your child's success is not your responsibility. You can prepare and raise the child well enough that the child is a good enough human being to go out in the world and make their own place. Now, what the child defines as success, what the society defines as success, what you define, they're all very, very different things. How to keep emotional balance being a single parent. See, I feel we are all entitled to emotional unbalance all the time. Okay, emotional balance is a very high, high goal to mark for yourself. There are days when you will do everything right and yet things will be a mess. There are days when you are completely out of it and yet somehow you wing it. Okay, um, why should you always be this epitome of emotional balance and perfection and zenhood? It's just a pressure you're putting on yourself. So some days you're a mess. Fine. It's fine. I often tell my kid, hey, you know what, buddy? I'm a mess today and it's going to be like this, but tomorrow will be better. So, deal with me. I mean, I feel like our children should be able to take us because it's not like they are the perfect epitomes of Zen, also, right? They are also a mess. They are also, losing their emotional balance and keel and whatever. So we are all entitled to it. Like, why should you feel that that is a minus? It's not.
Right.
How do you maintain that balance of a strict parent or a soft parent? Okay, yeah, this is a big one, and thank you for asking this. So, at some point you realize that you are the good cop and you are the bad cop and you are everything. um, Sometimes it can be a good thing because you know what, when you are a couple and the dad is always like the Santa Claus goodie bag, throwing toys and things, and the mom is always the one who's like regulating and whatever, or the opposite sometimes, but the roles are more or less set. But here you get to be like, suddenly you get to be the good cop one day, and then you can be the bad cop the next day, and the child has to like take it in their stride because you know what, you you have the potential to swing both ways, so they don't know what to expect. So it's fine, actually. You have to learn to use it to your advantage, and I have learned it finally that it's fine if I'm the bad cop because I also get to be the good cop, which I never got to be earlier.
Any other questions? Ishwarya, I don't see any hands being raised. Okay, there is one.
Okay. Uh, okay. How to handle situations when people start labeling single parent children more? You know what? It's really their problem because they are labeling, right? So there's something in them that makes them feel that they should label. So that's something I feel I'm more concerned about the person who puts the label than the person who is labeled. Because like I said, you cannot insulate your child from labels because there'll always be some label or the other, right? So uh, like he or she is shy or now shy again, like why is shy negative? Like maybe a person can grow up, I mean, I know kids who grow up in these very gregarious households where everyone is boisterous and whatever, and the child is still shy. and and then people are always apologizing for, like, I mean, uh, my sister used to be compared with me all the time when we were kids, and said, I mean, things like very hurtful things like, oh, but why she's so talkative and extrovert and all that, and why is she shy? Like, that's a personality trait. It's not a manufacturing defect. Some people are shy, some people are not shy. It's like, do I ask you, hey, why are you not shy? Like, how come you're so unshy? No, right? So then why?
I think, yeah, that was a very powerful question and a very, very powerful answer. Why are you not shy?
Yeah, it's like I remember, people ask single people, right? Oh, so why are you not married? So I think you should ask them back, why are you married? It's like I always tell my friends who are single, I'm like, make flip it around, because they are making it look like you have something lacking. But actually, they, in their pretentious marriages or whatever, they are the ones who are lacking. I mean, I'm just saying, you can flip anything around. And I think that is what, that comfort with oneself comes from years of conversations. And basically, I think for this is what I would say. Finally, you have this advantage of having this human being in your life and who you are responsible for. But then if you create a situation where nothing is off the table, we can talk about anything. Okay, if you create that for your children, yeah, maybe they will be, they will be mood swings, and there will be times when they won't talk as much, or it goes up and down, right? There's puberty and all kinds of things. But as long as they know that if we were to have a conversation, anything is allowed, we can talk about anything. So it's a very powerful thing to have. So I think you should look at it as your ammunition, that there are no more mixed signals, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, Lalita ji. Okay, we'll almost,
Don't see
uh,
anything else.
yes, in case any question, you can post it. Okay. Okay, Ankita says a big thank you to you.
Oh, thank you. What was the one? Oh, you asked about the, yeah, okay.
Yes, yes. All right. Aishwarya, please correct me. There are no hands that's been raised up, right?
No, no, there are no hands raised.
All right. So, in case there are no questions, I would like to hand this session over back to Aishwarya, but really would like to thank Lalita ji. I think your answers were like very insightful, and I really enjoyed the session truly. Thank you so very
Yeah,
much.
I did
Thank you,
too.
Aishwarya and Parents Ki Paathshala, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Lalita ji and Gitanjali ji. I think this was a very insightful discussion, and it helped, I think, break down a lot of nuances and stereotypes and all of that. So I think all of us are taking home a lot to think about and reflect over. Thank you so much for this insightful discussion. We will meet next month around the same time with yet another enlightening discussion. Until then, thank you and namaste.
Thank you.